Hi, I'm John Cash. Welcome to John Cash Ministries and Revelations Church's Daily Devotion. Today's devotion is titled, One Day Your Church Will Be Destroyed. You're thinking, cheery subject, John. Thanks. Well, no, this is very important, folks. Look, today we're going to talk about this. What's the church? Is it the building or the people? We're going to be looking at Mark chapter 13, verses 1 through 5. And we see the disciples admiring the temple. And it was a huge building. It had been around for centuries. Massive stones. Look what they said. As he was leaving the temple, this is Jesus, as he was leaving the temple, the disciples were following him. And it says, one of his disciples said to him, "Look, teacher, what massive stones, what magnificent buildings." They were admiring the temple and the buildings surrounding it. It was huge. What a sight. Now look, as people, as humans, we admire big buildings. We love looking at skylines, mansions on the hill, beautiful temples and churches. That's what we do. Yet, the most amazing part about it is that God is not at all impressed with any of that, at all. So we like to focus on those things, whereas God is focused on the heart. And Jesus here, when they're looking at the buildings, says this in verse 2. "Do you see all these great buildings?" replied Jesus. So in other words, he's saying, hey, take another look at those things. You see that? And then he says this, "Not one stone here will be left on another. Every one will be thrown down." They're all going to be destroyed. Now, why did he say that? Well, literally in AD 70, because of the unbelief and the hard-heartedness and the hypocrisy of the Jews during that time, Jesus allowed the Roman army to come in AD 70, and that would be 37 years after his death on the cross, and they destroyed Jerusalem and the temple. So we know that. But there's something else here. I think that's very important. You see, one day the Bible teaches that the world will end. It will end in fire. Poof. Every building, no matter how big, no matter how beautiful, no matter how much money's been spent, will be destroyed. Gone forever. What lasts? Not the building. With the church. The church is suddenly destroyed. What lasts? Not the church, not the bricks, the glass, the stained glass, no matter how expensive. It's all gone. The only thing that lasts are the hearts inside the church that have been changed by the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's really that simple. We need to be careful not to worship the buildings, not to be so in awe of the buildings that we lose sight of why the building is there. It is there to bring a testimony to Jesus Christ, God himself, God the Father, to change people's hearts, to preach the word of God. That simple. Now, in verse 3 it says, "As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, opposite the temple, Peter, James, John, and Andrew asked him privately, 'Tell us, when will these things happen, and what will be the sign that they will all be fulfilled?'" Look, these guys need clarity. They're like, okay, you just said that the magnificent temple that's been around for centuries is going to be destroyed. Can you help us out a little bit on this, Jesus? You see, most people in Jerusalem, they tied their existence, their religion to that temple. They tied their pride to that temple. They tied their existence to the temple. The temple's gone, they're gone. The religion's gone. God's gone. They really viewed that God lived in that temple. Now look, here's the bottom line. They had it all wrong. Our churches today are not buildings, they're people. God is pleased with a church, no matter how it looks, by the people inside of it, if they're following him in truth and spirit. You can have mega churches that are mega country clubs, not following God. He's totally displeased with them. You can have a little country church that seats 30 people where they all love Jesus, and he's more pleased with that. So Jesus tells them this when they ask, what's the deal? He says, watch out that no one deceives you. He then begins to talk about the end times, of course, knowing that the earth's going to be burned up one day. But there's something else. When he says, watch out that no one deceives you, I think there is a deeper spiritual meaning there. We can be deceived by buildings. We can be deceived by big budgets. We can be deceived by all the pomp and circumstance that church can offer. God is not interested in any of that stuff. He is interested in people who love him and want to serve him with their lives. So yes, one day your church is going to be destroyed. It could be during the last second on earth and the fire breaks out. One day it could be raised and something else takes its place. The bottom line is it will be destroyed one day. What God is concerned about is your heart. Will you be destroyed one day, or will you live with him forever in heaven? God bless you. Thank you for your support of John Cash Ministries and Revelations Church.